Hello, YouTube. Well, I'm gonna take my glasses off. Um, I'm not gonna talk personal stuff right now. I'm not gonna talk about personal stuff because there's a lot of stuff in my personal life that is just out of whack, and I don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. So I've decided that today I am going to do my top 10 list of the sexiest men actors alive. Yes, the sexiest men alive, 10 actors who have made the top 10 list. And the film that I think showcases, or show, the film or show that showcases just how incredibly gorgeous they are and can be. So, now I love eye candy. I know I am 53 years old and I probably don't even have a right to say who's hot anymore, but I think I have really good taste. And I would love to know if you have made a list like this of the top 10 hottest male actors, or if you agree with my list. So please comment below the video if you agree with this list, or if you disagree, or if you have your own list. I'd like to see it. Just kind of curious as to what, if I'm in the ballpark of what is hotness, because I think I am. So here we go. I'm going to do this in some sort of chronological order from number 10 into the number one spot. Number one being who I just think is like got the most droolability factor. And so here we go. Okay. In the number 10 spot, I have listed Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and the reason and show that showcased his hot ability, his hotness, was when he played Negan in The Walking Dead. I think that he was mixture of sexy and funny, and also very masculine energy with sort of this sexual potency thing. He had sexual potency and he had this sort of weird comic timing while he was doing really horrible things, but also in a sort of a caveman kind of way. It was sexy. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in the number 10 spot. In the number 9 spot, I'd like to mention Brad Pitt. Now, Brad Pitt has been on the cover of People several times as the sexiest man alive. And I think that I was one of the fans who fell in love with his charms and good looks, especially if you were back then when he was in Legends of the Fall. In Legends of the Fall, he had beautiful long blonde hair. He was built and riding these horses, and he just looked like a masterpiece. And I think that I was not the only one who fell in love with Brad Pitt from Legends of the Fall. He's absolutely stunning to look at, and even throughout the years, as he's done many movies, he has aged like wine to where he's still just wonderful to look at. Okay, that's the number 9 spot. In the number 8 spot, I have Benedict Cumberbatch. I know this is a different look, not the same kind of look as the typical, muscular, aggressive type of guy. Benedict Cumberbatch plays more intellectual, sophisticated type of roles, and so people would say, why do I consider him um, in the top 10 list of sexy men? But I do. I have had a crush on Benedict Cumberbatch, and I remember watching this interview or something where he calls his fans Cumberbitches. So I'm a Cumberbitch. I think that there's something to be said about a man who just looks that good in a suit. This man could wear any suit from London to New York. This man just makes a suit look like he's doing it a favor, that he's wearing it. I stole that line from Ryan Gosling. Anyway, I loved him in Sherlock Holmes when he played Sherlock Holmes. Even though I do adore Robert Downey Jr., I think he was great and as Charlie Chaplin and as Iron Man. But I definitely think that Benedict Cumberbatch was the perfectly cast actor for Sherlock Holmes. And when he did Sherlock Holmes is when I started crushing on him and looking at him as a sex idol. Okay, that was number 8. Number 7 spot is Chris Pine. Now Chris Pine is probably best known for his minor role in Wonder Woman and his major role as Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek movies. Chris Pine was probably one of the best casting decisions they did for Captain Kirk because those of us who watched the originals with Leonard Nimoy and as Spock and with William Shatner as Kirk, I never thought William Shatner was sexy. I'm sorry. I didn't think he was sexy. But when they cast Chris Pine, all of a sudden I had a whole different opinion about Captain Kirk. I was like, wow, Captain Kirk is hot. So I'm really glad that they cast Chris Pine as Captain Kirk because that's how everybody was supposed to feel about Captain Kirk. But I never felt that way when it was William Shatner. I was always like, oh no, Leonard Nimoy is way better looking. That's how I always felt. And I'm like, that, but we're not supposed to be looking at, like, we weren't supposed to look at Spock like the sex symbol. We were supposed to look at Captain Kirk as the sex symbol. And I'm like, I'm just not into William Shatner. But when Chris Pine took it, I'm like, okay, now we're talking about, yeah, Captain Kirk. All right, so yes, in the number 7 spot is Chris Pine. In the number 6 spot, I put Chris Hemsworth, whom you probably best know as for his role as Thor, and that is the role when I first saw the first Thor movie is when I started like just going, oh my goodness, who is that? Chris Hemsworth. Wow. Yeah, he's a great Thor. I mean, he's kind of like in the league of the Brad Pitt sort of situation with with the wavy blonde hair and the sparkling blue eyes and the muscles. I mean, he's got great muscles and I mean, when he's Thor, he's kind of like boyishly charming, but also, just this sort of like knight in shining armor type. And he's very, very, very handsome and sexy. So he's in the number 6 spot. In the number 5 spot, we have Jason Momoa. I can't decide whether he's hotter as Aquaman or Khal Drogo. But I'm going to go with Khal Drogo because that's when yeah, I didn't really see the Aquaman movie. Sorry. But I saw like images of him as Aquaman, and I'm like, yeah, he looks good. Yeah. But forget Aquaman because some people think that Aquaman is silly. So forget Aquaman. You want to see why Jason Momoa is in the number 5 spot? You just need to watch the scene with him as Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones. Whew. Oh my goodness. Jason Momoa sandwich. Yummy. Okay, so yeah, that's number 5. Number 4, we get to Ryan Gosling, who I just mentioned. I stole a line from one of his movies. Um, Now, I don't know if you've ever seen The Notebook. I mean, The Notebook is to like the Ryan Gosling generation people, like what Dirty Dancing was 30 something years ago. Patrick Swayze and Dirty Dancing. And it's funny because actually Ryan does mention Patrick Swayze in another movie. Not The Notebook, but in another movie he does mention it, which is hilarious because Ryan Gosling in The Notebook did what Patrick Swayze did in Dirty Dancing. He made like us go, wow, I want one of those. He's really, really, really good looking and really has this charming smile and this sort of devilish little, grin. He does this boy man thing that's just really, really very sexy. So That's number 4. I did not oh, by the way, I did not see the Barbie movie, the Ken performance, but I did see The Notebook, and I thought he was brilliant in The Notebook and looked absolutely yummy. Okay, so, in the number 3 spot, boom, 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 we're getting to the top 3. Okay, 3, 2, 1, who's in the number 3 spot? Henry Cavill! Yes, Henry Cavill. I mean, it's hard not to put him in the number 1 spot because I think he's just perfect. Like, he's just perfect. I mean, he's got a perfect body, he's got a perfect face, he's got perfect manners. Like, if you ever seen him in his interviews, you just like, oh my god, is this guy is like he must have gone to every like perfect class that there was to take. He's just perfect. And I thought that I mean, I know he was Superman and he was in a lot of other films, like British films, and he did some like other stuff, but uh, when I mean Superman, he looked good as Superman, but I think that he was just super hot in The Witcher. I mean, when they put the long white hair on him, it's not even blonde, it's like white. But it just like I don't know how they pulled it off on because he has dark hair. But when he had that white hair and he was all in those medieval garb and carrying the sword and and then he's with the actress Anya, whatever her name was in the show, but and they're just like being all passionate. And so I'm like, whoa. I don't want just one of those. I want like one of those every night. Like, can I have one of those every night? Like, oh my god, so yummy. Okay, so yeah, he's in the number 3 spot. Okay, we're getting to the top 2. Bum bum bum. Number 2. I just go crazy about number 2. I'm gonna build this up a little because I just go crazy. I mean, number 2 is probably like somebody that you wouldn't even think is my number 2. But number 2 is just oh my god. I really truly think he is the best dancer that I've seen from the new generation. I know, I mean, we haven't had a great dancer since Michael Jackson. Prince was pretty good too. I mean, Prince had moves for sure. But I mean, think about dancers. Yes, he's a dancer. We haven't had a great dancer. We've had, back then they had Fred Astaire, and then they had Gene Kelly, and then in the 80s Michael Jackson took over and said, I'm the best dancer, and everyone was like, he is probably the best dancer. But we haven't had that. And Michael Jackson, since Michael Jackson passed away, it's like who took over like king of dance? Well, in my opinion, it's in the number 2 spot of sexiest man alive, and I think that Channing Tatum should be crowned the best dancer. I just love his moves. I love all the Magic Mics that he was in. He just, I mean, impresses me. Everything he does is so impressive. I mean, I don't know how he does what he does, and I mean, I never was so enamored by a dancer like that, a sexy dancer. I never felt that way. But when I look at him, I'm just like, oh my God, like put it on me, please. He's just great. Oh, he's so great. That's number 2. Okay, this is it. The final countdown. Number 1 spot. Who do I think is the absolute sexiest man alive? And it is Charlie Hunnam. I do. I think he's the sexiest man alive. And the funny thing is, I have only seen a little bit of his work. I have actually not seen that much. I've watched a lot of clips from YouTube and on Facebook from interviews that he's been in um and pictures, pictures of him and I guess Sons of Anarchy. He was one of the big stars, main characters, and I saw a lot of clips from that show, which I don't think I could have handled watching that show. I think it was probably more dramatic and violent than Game of Thrones, which is hard to say that, but from the clips, that's what I'm gathering, and so I don't know if I could have handled watching the show, but I tell you what, I don't know who the director was or who the stylist was, but my God, they made him look just ravishing. I mean, he has the perfect haircut and he's got these, I mean, moves like he's just got this energy, this masculine, like full of pheromones energy that makes you just want to go, yeah, I want you like right now. He's really hot. He's really super hot. And I haven't said because I haven't seen that many of his shows, but from all that I've seen as far as the photographs and the interviews and the clips, I mean, you can't. I think he's stunning, like breathtaking. I can't take my eyes off of him. Um, so that's my top 10. So I'll just do a recap real quick again from number 10 to number 1, the recap of the 10 sexiest men alive in my book. It goes like this. Number 10 is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Number 9 is Brad Pitt. Number 8 is Benedict Cumberbatch. Number 7 is Chris Pine. Number 6 is Chris Hemsworth. Number 5 is Jason Momoa. Number 4 is Ryan Gosling. Number 3 is Henry Cavill. Number 2 is Channing Tatum. And number 1 is Charlie Hunnam. Well, guys, you've got it in my book. I mean, if any of you ever want to have a fling with a 53-year-old, please let me know because anyone on this list, I would probably just like, take me, I'm yours. I know it's a far-fetched fantasy, but that's what 53-year-old women do. So, thank you for entertaining us and for sharing your incredible sexiness with the world because there are lots of sad and lonely women like me who love a good fantasy and you fulfill that. Thank you so much.